the athletic department. Mr. Johnston has a Bachelor of Arts degree from Azusa Pacific, where he was also a 5-time academic All-American and a member of the national championship track team as he competed in the hammer. Also, he was an Olympic qualifier, which also highlights an achievement in his hammer throw. He's received a Master of Science degree from Cal State Fullerton and is currently working on his doctorate at Kansas State University. Please welcome our Pratt Community College Athletic Director, Mr. Larry Johnston. Hopefully that works.
Oh yeah, actually.
Wherever you want to go.
A lot better than what I should have done. So, I've been here at Pratt for a year. So let me give you a little bit of my history other than what you've just heard about and kind of how I landed in this field of work. So, running late to this class as well. We've got an issue with another team from another college that doesn't want to play us, and we don't want to play them. So, there's always the politics side of the coin, right, behind making sure you guys have good experiences. So, I grew up on a farm in Iowa. That's how I ended up back here in Pratt, Kansas, close to the Iowa farm. But like most of you, I thought, hey, I got to get to school, got to get educated. So I went to California. So once I got there, I said, what the heck am I doing here, right? It's a little bit different than Iowa farm. But, I got my year-end residency. I went to college, and, well, football it is. So I thought, well, I got a football scholarship. Well, I'm doing this, and in the off-season, they said, why don't you try this hammer throw? I had no idea what it was, right? It's track and field, right? So I did that, did quite well at it, and went my second year of junior college route. And actually, the way it works is if you do well at the state level, right, and you win it, you pretty much get to go wherever you want. So thankfully, I had the longest throw in the nation, at least from a community college standpoint. And so I took trips to Oregon, USC, UCLA, Stanford, Cal, Berkeley, and a few others. I ended up at Azusa Pacific University at the last minute, and basically had the best track and field championship team in the nation, more Olympic athletes on that team. So, this is dating me. I just turned 60 years of age, so I'm talking about a long time ago, right? So this is back in the the late 80s, early 90s, and so I'm a product of what you're trying to get through. But I know one thing I had to have was my grades. My grades dictated what set of colleges I could choose from. So I had a 3.82 GPA overall, so I can go anywhere I want if my talent is good enough to get there, right? So there is a benefit behind not just doing your craft or your sport, but also making sure you stay in the studies. It's not fun. I'm going back and getting my PhD, and I'm 60 years old. I have to have that piece of paper in order to, do some things that I want to do in life here before I get an expiration date on me, right? So once I got my 2-year degree done, and I went to Azusa Pacific University, got my 4-year degree done, like, now what am I going to do with my life? So at that point in time, I thought, well, I'll look at my master's. So I got my master's in 1996, qualified for the Olympic trials in 96, right? Had just gotten married, so I'm trying to juggle all these factors, right, in life. But it can be done, and before you know it, I thought, well, what do I want to do with all this education and all this, supposedly talent? I never really coached. I've always been an athlete, and so I was a strength coach at USC, University of Southern California. It was the first thing I wanted to do, and I spent a year with the Green Bay Packers football team strength and conditioning coach. So I had to get some knowledge behind that. Next thing you know, I get a call to be an athletic director at Los Angeles Harbor College in LA. Part of it is 9 campuses, one of the biggest districts in the country. And so I got to, here's your desk, here's your computer, and have at it. So, we fast forward, 25 years of doing this. So I've been at some of the smallest community colleges, and, that was about 8,000 at Los Angeles Harbor College. Santa Ana College was 30,000 students. You got football, you got 500-600 athletes, and, and then, unfortunately in life, things happen, right? And then you have to juggle that. When I was at Santa Ana College, we lost our 16-year-old son. So once we lost our son, I thought, well, now what? This is the second son I've lost, right? So now I have a daughter. I've lost 2 sons. I've been married. So I said, I'm going to be Mr. Mom, meaning I'm going to stay home, and I'm going to homeschool my daughter. She's in 3rd grade. So my goal was get her through high school. So we got up to about 2020 when she graduated. But before that, I got back to work. I became a commissioner for the state of Texas for all the UIL, TAFs, all the the private leagues, the public leagues. And so once we got her through high school, she's almost done. She's in 10th grade. 2 more years ago, they said, well, we need an interim dean of students for our high school. So I got back into work. Right, I'm near my daughter. I'm working. And next thing you know, I'm back into Frederick Community College in Maryland, where I was an athletic director there for a couple of years. So then I thought, what's my next step? Well, my daughter has her AA degree. I am going to go to the 4-year level. So I was a finalist at Lubbock Christian University for the athletic director position, University of Hartford, Mayville State University. Had my choice of different colleges in different states. They're more division, 2 or 3, level NCAA schools. And, well, my dad passes away, my mom has a stroke. All right, well, looks like I'm not taking that route, so that's how I ended up at Pratt Community College. I had to get near the Iowa farm. But, the bottom line is this is a great town. It's a town I never expected to live in. But my job has been the same for the last 25 years, and I love it. It's the most important thing that I have going on in my job are you guys, athletes. That's the responsibility I have. So I'm basically a politician for you, making sure we have the funding and transportation, meals, whatever it is. But behind that scene, there's some headaches also, right? Is everybody in class? Are we in trouble or not? Are we doing well in the sport? What is life throwing at you? Any curveballs? Because you just don't get up and, hey, it's gonna be a great day. It is, but the biggest challenge you guys have is getting up in the morning and going to do something that nobody else wants to do to be successful in the classroom and on the court or the field, right? That's the decision you have to make every single day. And that's what I do. I try to help you make those right decisions, then make sure we have the right coaches in the right spots, your right support systems, and I have a blast. All I have to do is let this town know what great programs we have here. And you have Dr. Calvert, you have a president that, went through the ranks as well. He coached football in this region for 8 years. And, became a VP and worked all the way up as a president of a college. I'm thinking, well, we got it made. We have a president that understands athletics, right? So understands the values of what I'm trying to do to give you. So my choice on a college came down to not just because it was in Pratt, but because of the leadership. So I have to look at the leadership. If the leadership does not fit what I think the value is, then I'm not going to last probably too long in that capacity. One might value athletics. Well, you read their bio. They don't have nothing in there about athletics at all. So what's my challenge going to be like when I get to that college? What kind of leader am I going to be if I don't know if I'm going to get the tools I need to be successful for leadership and pass it on to you guys, right? So that was one of the biggest reasons I chose this campus was because of the leadership in terms of that they have been down that road that you're going. So they understand what I'm trying to do to get you the tool that you need to be successful. So, and I got 3 rules in our department. Because you always, okay, what's the goal of a department like this? Well, one is culture. Culture is huge. If I don't have good cultural fit coaches, which means are they a good fit for the team to coach? Are they a good fit for this campus, meaning who they have to interact with? And will they be a good fit culturally for this town? Will they interact themselves in those 3 capacities? You guys as really coach, the campus, and the community. And so when you keep culture there, you got it made. And the 3 rules I have is we cannot be disrespectful to each other, we cannot lie, and I cannot hear things third party. Meaning if things happen and it's gonna come across my desk, if it's good or bad, I need the coach to tell me right up front, hey, this is good stuff, this is bad stuff. Normally if it's bad, I can't hear that something's happened bad from the president of the college. I better intercept that, I better have communication so I can pass it along to my boss, which is the president of Pratt Community College, because they don't want to get a phone call not knowing anything about what's going on, good or bad. So just keeping things in perspective and communicating, I'll tell you, communication's huge. If you're gonna have to write something down, culture's number 1. You got communication is utmost importance, and transparency. Meaning you have an open door policy. I mean, we joke around, but a lot of times it's business is business. We got to take care of it, right? It's not always fun. It's not always fun. But if you want to establish a culture, I have to live what I practice and preach. I can't go in town and frequent the bar every night and come back here and tell you, behave. That doesn't work, right? So there's a balancing act with all this stuff. And even with you guys got to make decisions every day. You can get as much trouble as you want. And I already know where all the trouble is. It's so easy here. I can literally go where everything happens, whether it's the lake or this, I can name all the spots off. And like I mentioned in a meeting earlier that we had with all the athletes, I have eyes everywhere. I don't even have to ask, but we're doing it so that we keep you guys honest and that you stay on track, get your studies done, and it's tough being an athlete, a student athlete. When you have to have GPAs and study, you have to have 12 units or more, 16 units here, 2.0, and everything else, there's no trick. You just have to put in the time. And if you want to be good at what your craft is, whether soccer, basketball, wrestling, whatever it is, you know how the coaches are. Now they want 100% of your time so that college wants 100% of your time from an academic sense and an athletic sense. And then you have your life, somewhere in the middle, right? What are you gonna do for you? What downtime do you have? All these things you gotta make, whether it's personal, might have stuff going on in the family or not. I mean, there's always other things that are going into place. You have to juggle a lot of things. And so if I have a good culture in my department, all those other things that happen in life, no matter what it is, you're always gonna be good. And I'll give you a prime example of how I learned that culture worked. So when I was interviewing for, four-year college jobs, their biggest thing is you have to give me an hour-long presentation on culture and then prove that culture works in your area. So at Frederick Community College, before I came here, I was talking to our president at the college, and just like I'm standing here, and my left knee just gave out down, I went, what the heck, right? And I know I'm getting old, but I didn't even do anything, I hadn't even been moving. And down I went, so I got to the trainer and looked at it, really didn't know what was going on. But my wife and daughter is in Los Angeles, she's speaking at a conference, my daughter is visiting some old friends there, and so I get home about 3 hours later, and boom, the right leg snaps. And so I'm like, okay, now I can't move. So I have to crawl from here, like out the front doors, up a couple steps, finally got my phone, and the last person I called was our baseball coach. So I said, hey, I can't get up, you gotta come get me. He thought I was joking. You gotta have humor with this too, you gotta play tricks and jokes on everybody once in a while. So he came and got me, and if not, I think I'd still be sitting there, right? But he came and got me to the hospital, and it was called a bilateral quad tear. Meaning like you have a bicep tear and it rolls up your arm. Well, quad muscles, you have 4 quad muscles, right? You have the vastus intermedius, vastus lateralis, intermedius, and rectus femoris. I mean, it's all tied in there. So that snapped and the leg muscles rolled up a little bit. And so I about passed out a couple of times. It happened twice. I'm like, that's the most pain I've ever been in. And so the moral of the story is the next thing I know, somebody had went and got my wife and daughter from the airport. They called the ambulance, so they got me to the hospital. Somebody fed my dog. Somebody else mowed my grass. I had almost 2 acres in a big old John Deere 60-inch zero-turn. Mowed my grass. I had 3 levels to the house, so I had a walkout basement, so you could walk out the basement, into the grassy area. And they set up shop downstairs for me, so I could have meetings there. Because I won't be able to walk probably for 3 months, 4 or 5 months. And so when I mean culture, how do you know when culture works? That means everybody in my department took care of all my needs without me asking them to do one thing. That's culture. You don't even have to ask them to do it, they did it. And so, the president visited me at the hospital and so on and so forth, and then we were in the baseball season, and we just won the region 20, Division II baseball, and so we're off to the World Series in Enid, Oklahoma. Well, I got 3 weeks to go, they got 3 weeks to go, I'm going, I gotta go, right? Well, doc said, you're not going nowhere, you can't even walk, right? So we got my walker, we got things going, we got the staples out of my leg, and we thought, how am I gonna get to this event? So they came up with a good idea. They took out an extra row in the bus, right? And so they built me a platform so they could put my legs out. And so to get on the bus, I'd have to do a dip, right? All the way up, and they'd hold my legs and they'd throw me in there. The biggest problem I had is, if I got to go to the bathroom, I'm gonna have a hard time, right? I'm not gonna make it to the back of the bus. So my diet had to be very, very good, if you will. But again, so I got on a 1,300-mile trip with the baseball team, right? And they had to take care of me. I couldn't go to the bathroom by myself, couldn't dress myself, you just no legs, You gotta have your own portable, potty to get to and everything else. So, but the athletes came to my rescue even. They took care of me like I was almost part of their family. Again, culture and communication, openness, transparency. And again, don't lie, don't be disrespectful, and just do things together. I'm only as good as the people I surround myself with. And that's one of my biggest things. If I surround myself with the right coaches, that allows me to do what I gotta do, and I know they're gonna take care of you. And that increases enrollment, and it does a lot of other things that make this school work the way it works, right? And then I also know culture doesn't just mean in my department. I have to have a good culture on campus, meaning we have a lot of different departments that make athletics run, from information technology, to the custodians, to transportation, to security, to every single instructor that's on campus. They put a lot of effort into making sure that our department works. So it's not just me doing this, it's making sure that I have resources for you guys beyond the walls of this athletics. It takes all these instructors staying on you, it takes me staying on you, et cetera, et cetera. So by the end of the day, it's a pretty good job to have. I get paid to actually do what I love to do. And the best part of my job is actually going and watching you guys compete, whether it's at home or if I can go, and I usually do, I went to wrestling nationals last year, I went to tennis, I went to track and field, and so those are the sports that I could hit because I came in about this time last year, January. So it's just a great job to have. It has its headaches. Don't get me wrong there. But you know, if this is the line of work that you want to go into, when I was in high school, we take these tests and they'll tell you what jobs you're going to be good at when you get out of high school. Well, I was supposed to be a janitor. They said I'd be an outstanding janitor. So thank goodness my education got me out of that, right? You know, and do I want to go back to school now and get my PhD? No. But you know, my first shot that I tried to do this is when I lost our 16-year-old son. The last time I tried to do it was I just lost my dad and mom had a stroke. So this is like my third round, right? I have to go. It's going to take me about 2 to 3 years. And you know, when I'm done, you know, at least I'll be more educated. My wife didn't say I'd be smarter. She just said I'd be educated. That's a joke. Okay, there you go. So, but other than that, yeah, it's you know, making sure our facilities are updated and upgraded. It's just a great job to have. So, you guys got to have some questions, right?
Yeah.
All right, have at it.
My first one is what happens if you go over budget for like the athletic budget?
Yeah, budgets are a huge thing every day, right? If we, I have, you know, a budget with line items this long. We got to look at travel, recruiting, referees, officials. I mean, you know, the game day gear, right? Everything. If I go over budget, I have to get approval through my boss, Dr. Calvert, and then also Kent Adams, who's the VP of Finance and Operations here. He's been here for 32 years. So budgets go, there's only one person that goes through, and that's him. One of the great things that our coaches do very well at here, and I do the same thing on a different level, is fundraising. Without the fundraising, I'm not going to get the additional dollars to do what we want to do above and beyond the norm, right? You know, you might get a pair of shorts and top for, but now winter you need something for winter, for spring, for summer, for fall, right? And I'm big on that because I think you all look as a unit, right? That's a team. That's a team. So budget-wise is always, you know, one year you travel a lot, the next year at home more. So sometimes you spend more money on transportation, the next year it's more officials. So there's always a balancing act. But they'll usually say, here's your budget, don't go below it, don't go over it. And what I do, if I do, I always make sure that I have a detailed spreadsheet that shows why I would go over budget. I just can't go like, no, $2,000 more money for this year. They're not gonna give it to you. You have to justify why you would need it, because it's not just athletics fighting for different additional dollars, it's every department on campus. Academics, athletics, IT, transportation, they're all needing, you know, even the Great Western dining in the cafeteria, there's always something that's gonna break out of the ordinary, so they need certain things to make sure that the food stays cold and blah, blah, blah. It's a lot. So it is a juggling act, and the coaches just do an outstanding job. Now, when you talk about dollars and numbers and budgets in athletics, you have to also look at Title IX, which means how do I treat both the male and female sport teams? I can't treat women's basketball like this and then men's basketball way over here in a whole different way, right? So I want to make sure I balance those things out so that they're each getting pretty much treated the same, if you will. You know, from that when you go out to eat, well, you all have the same dollar amounts to feed them, right? So that part's easy, but there's always something breaks. The basketball, the shooting machine, that's a $10,000 machine. Well, that wasn't budgeted. So how are you going to do that, right? I'm going to fundraise. They'll have some discretionary funds stuck back for those, you know, moments, you know, but everybody has them. And if you think about every department having some need like that, that adds up pretty quick. And it depends on what the state funding model is going to look like for us. You know, taxes just went up here. Well, that's always a battle between, you know, the town paying more taxes. If our funding gets moved around and we need more, or if our enrollment's up or down, that sometimes dictates if the mill levy or if the taxes go up. I don't want to see them go down, but they usually go up, right? Because there's a cost of living too, expense. You know, things just cost more these days. So yeah, budgets are something you will deal with every single day, and sometimes you got to be very creative to get it done. Because in my world with coaches, they don't want an answer in 2 weeks. They want an answer yesterday. Because that's what you guys need, an answer yesterday to get you what you need. So, all right, next question.
How do you measure success of the athletic program beyond wins and losses?
Culture. We recruit culture and we recruit character. Now they're going to be a good athlete, right? But if I have the best athlete in the world and we don't have the resources what they need here, sometimes it's just not a good fit, right? But success, I'll give you an example. When I was throwing the hammer throw, anybody know what the hammer throw is? It's a ball and a wire, yeah. So I trained with Balazs Kiss from Hungary, who won the gold medal in 1996. And so he's coming over from Hungary, he's already a world-class thrower. How do you make that person better? Well, it came down to making him a better person in his personal life, in his sport, whatever it might be, right? Personal problems. So when you look at what's success beyond, wins and losses is, is the culture, is our coaches supporting each other in different events and so on and so forth. If your culture's right and you recruit character and the right individuals, you're gonna win. You just will win. Now, there are some schools that do better because sometimes their funding model's way up here, right? So they can spend X amount of money. Some of us, we can only spend this much money, right? So we're getting some of the best athletes, still, and might not have this big of a budget, but we fundraise the difference. But, beyond the wins and losses is what type of person are we bringing in to this campus? And I'll give you an example of that. We just hired on the Fort Scott track and field coach. He's gonna bring over probably 40, 50 kids, athletes in the fall, more than what we've had. Now that's great getting them here, but is that culture gonna work here? Is that group of individuals in track and field, now there's gonna be 80 of them, 90 of them, are they gonna work correctly here? Right? You got people from all over the world, different cultures, it's saying, okay, if you come to Pratt Community College, here's our culture. So if we can attack that from the classroom and what you're doing, the wins and losses record, they take care of themselves. You will always win more than not. And I have some coaches that, they're a new coach, but they're not winning too much. You know why? Because I'm building a culture with this coach. I'm not concerned if we win too many or too little. Is that the team stays connected, they're growing, we're maturing, they have a good reputation, doing well in the classroom, that starts to win time and time again. It just keeps on winning. So wins and losses, yeah, you know what? Yeah, we all want to win. We need to. But I say one of my goals is trying to be in the top 500, right? Be in the top 500, top of your class, at least the half. I don't want to be in the bottom half. I want to be in the top half. And then we just work on culture and the right coaches and even the budgets and supporting the the need. All right, who's next?
What has been one of the hardest challenges for you and how you face as an athletic director?
I would say the biggest challenge is probably being patient because I want to get things done right away, right now. That's one of my biggest challenges, but it's also making sure that I'm giving these coaches the support they need and the tools they need so that you as a whole are successful. So, that's, you ask what's the biggest challenge you face? Every time I come in this front door, I got a plan for the day, but it never goes like that, not at all. And so that my biggest challenge is am I providing the right culture for all of my coaches, all the support staff, so that at the end of the day, you, the student athlete, is going to get what you need, right? Am I doing my part? Winners are always worried about if they do good enough, right? They always think they should have done better. And ones that don't put in much time, that some of those always think that they should just be able to win just because, and it doesn't work that way. So when I come in those front doors, it's just, my biggest challenge is, am I giving our coaches the right tools to be successful, with the athletes? And all the departments are doing that here, right? Everybody's at the mercy of the money guy, right? Because they control all that. And, and you're juggling a lot of things because we have coaches that have, they have an injury here, something happened in the family, or, the students have this or that. It's juggling all those needs and making sure they're always met every single day. It's a challenge, it's not a bad challenge though. It's just, can I get the job done today for these coaches and for these athletes? And I have to find out what does that mean every day, right? Every day it's something different.
What's the difference between a D1 JUCO and a D2 JUCO at the same school?
You have kind of three levels with the JUCO. You have Division 1, 2, and 3. So we're Division 1 in most of our sports except for soccer. If you're Division 1, that means you have the ability to give that individual room, meals, tuition, books, and sometimes certain fees, right? If you're at the Division 2 level, you can only really give out books, tuition, and fees. No meals, no room and board. If you're at Division 3, you can't give anything. you're just there. And basically, you know, you're just there, you're probably local, you know, you're not really traveling from anywhere across the world. But there's no housing there, there's no meal plans there, there's really no athletic aid, if you will. There might be some academic dollars, and we have that as well that we can tap. We have academic dollars if people meet certain criteria to give them out. But yeah, Division I is you see a lot of housing on site, and you feed them. They're living here, right? They're coming from somewhere, and you get, and that's, again, there's another challenge there is when you all come here, it's not, you just show up, you do your studies, you know, all right, what if we need a doctor? Well, you know, a haircut, medicines, got to get to Walmart. I mean, you're living here, right? And y'all don't have cars, so it's like, how do we get that done, right? So there's the challenges I'm talking about. Again, is making sure, am I giving you guys all the tools you need to be at home here at Pratt Community College? And it's challenging sometimes, but we figure it out. But yeah, the different levels in the JUCO world, all the rules still apply the same. It's just what can you give an athlete, you know? And those are the, you know, in California is different. In California, there is no Division I, II, or III. There are no like scholarships. We didn't have housing up. You got 115 community colleges in California. You got 10 colleges in each conference. So when you win, you come by my office. I've got championship bowl rings with football, with wrestling, with baseball, with track and field. You can see them, they're all displayed there. And no matter what, in California, if you're going to the Final Four in baseball, that means you beat out 114 other community colleges. You're the best of the best. I always thought, I have one wrestling, 2009, Santa Ana College. You know, we won the state championship. I got a big old ring sitting in there, you know. And that's the other part of my job is I get that hardware. All I have to do is just do my job. It's great. You guys pay the price out on the mat, the court, or the field. You know, you guys are the ones doing the work. But yeah, California, you spend more of your time there. If you're not a resident, let's say this is California, you got different parts of California, you have to live in those areas in order to compete at that school. If you're not a resident, you're in trouble. So you got, it's called contiguous districts, trying to make sure where you live at. You know, they're all trying to come and go and do all this and that. It's a rat race. It's tough. Here, you know, you just got to get you here, and can we feed you? You know, make sure you got a place to stay and get your education. You know, in California, it's just it is a different animal. I always thought, why don't we take the best in California and play the rest of the United States, whoever's the best. Okay, we got, you know, Santa Ana's the top wrestling team there, Pratt's the top wrestling team here. Let's put them together on a national, you know, platform and see who's the best of the best, right? Maybe get a sponsorship, Under Armour, Nike, somebody, it doesn't matter who, you know, and you get that happen. But yeah, there's JUCO worlds in California and here we're all different. But same day, they have the same plan in place. Get to class, get to your sport, and just kind of keep your nose clean and make that decision every day when you get up in the morning that I'm going to do something that nobody else is doing. Because your competitors doing the same thing. They're getting up thinking, if I don't get up today, I got to get one on my competition. It's a daily decision. You got your friends trying to drag you away, right? You can give yourself a reason to go get in trouble every day. I can give you one, you know? And so I say, if you're going to get in trouble, just come see me. Let's make a deal. Don't hear about it anyway, right? So if you want to get in trouble, let's make a deal. But yeah, to answer your question, Division 1, 2, and 3 is the funding model and what you can give or not give to the student athlete as you go down the line. Come on. You know y'all got to ask one question.
When you hire coaches, what's 3 main questions you ask them?
3 main questions. When I do interviews with coaches, I ask a few questions in the beginning, and then I do it at the end, and I see if it matches up.
So you try to catch them they love.
Yeah, always. By the end of the time, you know. So, you know, a lot of them I always get one of them is what are non-negotiables for you? And they're like, what do you mean? What's a non-negotiable? Okay, I said, well, meaning my non-negotiables are don't lie, don't be disrespectful, don't let me hear things third party. That's what I'm expecting. That's not negotiable. You don't do it. If you do, we got a problem, right? So I'll ask them, what are your non-negotiables? And sometimes they say a lot of different things. It's, oh, well, athletes can't be late at all, right? Yeah, that could be non-negotiable, or I just send them home. So I find out some of that. Next question I asked them, I said, what type of people can you not stand working with? What type of person can you not work with? You know, and you get all different. Some might say, well, being organized, right? Or, you know, it could be a variety of things. So I get a little bit out of them with that there. And then I always say, tell me more about yourself. Tell me something I need to know that if I find out later, I'm gonna fire you. Tell me something more about you that you should be telling me and you're not telling me. Tell me something, right? And there's a variety of things, you know, that they come up with, but, you know, you're just digging deeper into them. I'm trying to find out, who are you really? You're this person in the interview, but when you get here, who are you really? Because I'm gonna say you, because you're gonna be around all these athletes. You know, I've hired a coach this past round for a particular sport. 5-6 months later, had to let him go. Did not fit the criteria to make sure that team is getting what they need and that there's a good cultural fit. Arguing with me, arguing with the team, arguing with the town, not gonna happen, right? So you find out, you know, as they tell more and more about you, about themselves, you find out some, you know, but then I ask those questions at the end, usually at the tail end, you know, about what I just mentioned, right? But when you do an interview, you gotta be very fair, you gotta ask the same questions to all those that you're interviewing. You can't just decide this question for this one, and that question for that one. You can elaborate sometimes on a question, but you gotta be upfront, you know, when you ask them that question. But just always, you know, tell us about yourself. And some of the questions that you're asking me is about what do you define success as, other than wins and losses? So you've asked a lot of good questions that I already asked in interviews. Because those questions that you're asking, that's gonna tell me what type of coach do we have here, right? And so, yeah, there's a lot of standard, but there's always that question mark when they get here, right? When you see a resume or an application, you know it's inflated. You know they're putting more into it than probably needs to be, you know? I'm figuring, you know, there's maybe 25% of it's maybe, you know, fluffed up too much, right? I gotta dig a little bit deeper and see who they are. Because once they get here, they're here. You know, and I always tell me about yourself. When they tell them, or another question I ask, what are your hobbies outside of coaching? What do you like outside of coaching? What are your hobbies? And that might tell me, you know, what's important to them outside of just coaching. You know, example, me, I'm one of the top collectors in the country of children's toys and books and Disney artwork. So I deal with Sony Studios and Paramount Pictures and any movie that's like Seabiscuit, or you might not know those, but any Disney movie that happens in the 30s and 40s, they'll contact me and they'll buy props, you know, toys and things that, you know, kids would use back in the 30s and 40s. So that's one of my hobbies. You know, I travel all over the country collecting artwork, you know, comic books, you know, things of that nature. Coaches came over to my house, you know, the whole bottom basement of what I have is like a museum. So, you know, and one other ways in how you tell culture fits is when I first come on board, you'd love to have everybody over, right? Get to know everybody. Don't work like that. Takes about a year. Get your culture right. And then you invite them over. And then I had 30 coaches over to our house and everybody got along and had a great time. I couldn't have done that a year ago. The culture wasn't right yet, you know. And it's not just my way, but it's just, you know, if our coaches support each other, I know you guys are getting what you need. You know, and they'll tell me, hey, I need this, I need that, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, a lot goes into interviewing and questions, but you do get a panel together. I'll bring in a panel, you know, from the academic side, from the athletic side, from the administrative side, you know, and just a good representation, so we get good questions by the end of the day from not just my brain, but from a lot of different brains. Because they still have to, you know, move around on campus in different departments, and, you know, we just want to make sure we got a good fit. So, hope that answered it for you. You okay, man? You good?
So when it comes to evaluating teams that would establish or evaluating them, what aspects are you looking at?
Well, team-wise, retention. You know, are we retaining these individuals, you know, from freshman to sophomore, or are they just leaving, right? Or once they have their 2 years here, where are we putting them at the next level? Is the coaching staff taking time to get you marketed and get you where you need to get, right? And that comes down to GPA and those things. So, you know, outside of the classroom, those are the two big things that I'm always looking at here. Well, is retention, transfer rate. You know, I look at how many. I can tell you who's had how many absences for the year. I can tell you what your GPA is as it moves around. You know, sometimes depends on when the instructor gets grades in. So there's a lot of evaluation going on all the time. You know, we've invested more money into coaches and some other things, and that's going to bring a lot more, you know, a lot more bodies to this campus. But yeah, there's always evaluation and things like that all always, you know, is the model and the culture that we're putting forth, is it working for this campus? Is it fitting the values of this campus, the objectives, right? The values, the mission, the vision, you know. When I make decisions, three things have to happen. It has to have a good impact on the team, has to have a good impact on the campus, and it has to have a good impact on the community. And again, that's culture. So most of my decisions are always based, is it going to be good for those three areas, right? Are we putting the money in the right places? Lisa Coleman works here. She's the stats person. She can pump out any type of stat that I need any day of the week, and compared to other colleges as well. That's another thing. I look at other colleges, you know, and other athletic departments. You know, how are they doing? What are they doing? Are they doing something different than we are that I might be able to use or steal? And we bounce things back and forth. We just went to Seward Community College, so all the ADs in our 16 different colleges get together and talk about what's happening in the Kansas Jayhawk Conference, right? And so we do learn a lot from each other that way, and get some good ideas about how to evaluate teams. And you know, I never tell a coach how to coach. I don't ever tell them who to play. Those are two things I don't do. You know? And if sometimes I could get a parent call or this, that, I can't tell them anything, right? it's tough. But if you have an open door policy like I do, I get a lot of traffic, and they do come in, and it works. But yeah, a lot of evaluations going on all the time to make sure that the model that we're taking, that it is working for the campus as a whole, not just athletics, right? Because we're 85% of the dorms are athletics. You know, we're 55 or so. Part of we make over half the full-time degree seeking students at this campus, so it's a big thing here. It's a big thing, so we got to keep it going.
What class best prepared you for the show?
Probably the best. Well, I'll tell you this. It really wasn't about being an athletic director. It's about, can I deal? Am I going to be good at dealing with all these diverse populations and you know athletes and instructors? When I was doing my master's, I was actually an athletic director in downtown Los Angeles, Skid Row. Toughest place you can be. Did that for 4 years, and they had an athletic director position, but it was to take on 200 male individuals that are homeless. And there's a female population as well. But it really wasn't the homeless population I was dealing with. These were all individuals that just got out of prison for thousands of different things. And what I learned after about 4 years there, with my master's, I wanted to develop a program or a book that would teach you how to rehabilitate the homeless population. You know, how you get them back going, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, all that stuff. So that's how I did it. So I had my population right there for 4 years. So, and you would believe the athletes that came through those doors that just had bad luck, bad decisions. Some of the best athletes I've ever seen come through a Mission in downtown LA. It's beautiful. Mission, brand new. It was nice. 3rd floor gym on the 3rd level, and weight room, lecture hall, everything. And I thought, my gosh, I got some of the best. I've had ex-pro athletes come through there. Ex-pro athletes, right? And I'll give you a funny story. I don't coach basketball. I don't know hardly anything about basketball. So they said, Larry, hey, we got a group. We're going to go down and play the local YMCA. Now, the local YMCA is, you don't beat them. You can't beat them. They are the best of the best. And they were I had some 6'7" kids. You know, some of them in their mid-20s coming through the Mission. And we got them in shape, got them off drugs and all that other stuff. We went down there and beat the heck out of them. I didn't even know what I was doing. I'm just on the sideline, and we're throwing them in. They're playing just, 5-on-5, and so, it taught me how to deal with all different types of personalities and cultures. And I'll tell you what, when you're in downtown LA, those guys, especially at Christmas time and holidays, and you're feeding all these individuals, they prevented me from getting shot, stabbed. They would have done anything for me. But only because I treated them correctly. I go, how do you know I ain't gonna screw with you or turn here? He says, well, we can smell it on you. We can smell it on people. We know if you're good or bad. What do you mean you smell it? We just know. So, again, I went back to, okay, what's this culture like, right? And I said, how am I gonna create this culture? But what I learned from there and dealing with people and all these different things, from the worst, to the best, is everybody's this far away sometimes from getting in trouble and going somewhere. You know, and so what it helped me do, when people come from all over the world here, everybody has different types of baggage. Some have little, some have a lot, some don't. So it taught me how to navigate that. You know, and so, back to an earlier question about what's some of the biggest challenges. Sometimes it's making sure that I'm giving the right support to help these individuals, not just in sport, but life in general. I got an athlete, parent just lost a parent. I mean, there's always something happening. You got to be able to help navigate that. But when I was at the Union Rescue Mission down there, I really learned how to deal with different people. So when I went to Los Angeles, I went to community college. I got people from everywhere, all different backgrounds. You know, I mean, you know, Samoan population means this. You know, black means this, white means this, green means this. I mean, you know, cultures, but they're all trying to get the same thing out of it: education and be good at that sport. And then when somebody to say, hey, that you know, stop. I actually stop and listen to them, not looking through them, but looking at them, right? And I think that's a big difference. Is, you know, taking the time, you know, to talk with athletes and hear what's going on. You know, invest in what's going on. Not just expect the grades all the time and talent on the court all the time. We want you to be a better human being when you get out of here. You know, and this is, you know, this is a good. Community colleges has a very powerful thing that they can get you to the next level. But that answers some of the question there.
So how does the department work to foster team unity and school spirit across different sports?
Again, we have coaches meetings. You know, I hire coaches, and I also take different coaches and put them on a panel so they can help interview, because they're going to see things in this coach that I might not see. Like, hey, this is a problem here, or no, that's great here. I might not even see it. So how do I foster, you know, between coaches a good atmosphere? And again, back to a culture, right? I have a lot of one-on-ones with our coaches. I meet our coaches every day, some way, shape, or form. We talk 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And we have, you know, 15, 16 sports, you know, 30, 40 coaches. I mainly deal with the head coaches the most, and then the assistant coaches next, and so on. But to foster that, you'll see it because they'll show up at the basketball games, not just, you'll see other teams and other coaches at different events. That's when you know things are good. Or my office space, you know, we have 5 or 6 offices up there. If you have a good culture between the coaches, you'll know it because they will all come up and see me and hang out every day and interact. If it's not good, you'll never see them. They'll stay away. They'll stay in their little cubby holes. I'll see you at practice. I'll see you at the game. If it's going well, and the ones that don't show up and hang around and interact, there's your cancer. Those are the ones got to go. You know, and so you'll see a lot of that here on this campus. Everybody backs up each other. Say if we got to go, we got to take. Baseball's got. We don't have a bus today, but we need 5 vans. Well, you'll see another coach help drive. You know, you'll see them step in. So trying to foster a good culture between the coaches is, you know, stick with my 3 rules. If you tell them the rules up front, then we're good. Don't lie, be disrespectful, don't let me hear things third party. And they'll find out I'll do anything for them. Anything. So if you just do those few things that we've been talking about each day, not just when you feel like it, but every single day, you start to foster a good interaction with your coaches, right? And another way is let's say I was a basketball coach. I wasn't, but if I was, you got to make sure that you're treating everybody fairly, no matter what sport it is. Title IX, which says you need to treat both men and women's, you know, sport teams correctly. We have what's called the EAD report, the Equity and Disclosure Act. It's federally mandated every year. I have to send into the state exactly where I put every single penny I used in this department. No matter where I got from, fundraising, doesn't matter. You know, so my goal is just make sure everybody gets what they need. And again, if everybody thinks that we're treating everybody right, that's good. Well, if soccer and basketball is wearing nice outfits and none of the other teams have anything, that's not good. So we're still working on that piece, right? Some coaches don't think they need it. Some say they do. Well, I said, you know what? Everybody get a backpack, right? Everybody make sure they get an outfit upper and lower so we can look like a team. Right? So all my moves are, I hate to say it like this, but it feels like, you know, using an athletic director and assistant athletic director, we're the parents, right? And then we have the coaches that are the kids, and then more kids, right? So it's like we gotta keep the whole family happy. That's all. So, all right, we got it.
And what are the most rewarding aspects of their job?
Probably walking through those doors and just seeing student athletes.
I get to do that every day. I get paid to come in and hang out with you guys. That's, that's a pretty good job. You know, I get to dress up funny, show up, and I just get to hang out with coaches and athletes, and, you know, it's, I mean, there's nothing better. I mean, you get paid for it. I know there's headaches and things like that, but headaches aren't usually you guys. You know, it's just other things, you know, we got money here, we're gonna get this, we're gonna do that. You guys can be challenging, you know, but nobody's gonna make you do anything. That's just it. As I said, if you're gonna get up in the morning, every morning, and make sure that, hey, I'm gonna be the best student I can be, the best athlete I can be, I'm gonna put in the work. Don't care what day of the week it is, or you give yourself a reason not to do it. You know? And then certain coaches are more stringent than others, so you gotta find out where that balancing act is. But yeah, just rewarding is being able to get up and, you know, come through those doors and think, man, Don, I gotta hang out with student athletes again? You kidding me? My biggest challenge when I do come through the door, I know I get to do that, I just don't know what the day holds. I have a plan every day, but it always goes like this. And that's probably part of the cool thing about it. So, but yeah, and watching you guys put in all the work, but going to the events, you know, home and away, and watching you compete. Because we have invested time, emotions, and things. I don't have that kind of time invested into like the coaches do and so on, but I still ride that same wave of wins and losses that all the teams do. You know, you guys might go and come back. I always have the coaches tell me when they're there, tell me when you're back. What was the score? How you doing? You know, and so I ride that with you guys. You know, if I don't make the right decisions, then you ride the roller coaster with me. If the coaches don't do their part, then you got to ride that roller coaster. So stability and who we hire, our culture, our department, it makes all these things work out. Then we can work on just making you a better person, which you do. That's it. You know. So, but yeah, I'd say just hanging out, or the ability that I get to stop, go to the cafeteria wherever I go, and just talk. You know, I don't get to do as much. You know, but when I do, it's good. You know, but yeah, and then just being at those games when you're there. So, but it's a good job. I might have gave you too much information, but it's you know, but culture is important, and you just need to let them know what the rules are when you do it. You know, I think that's fair. If you let them know what the rules are, expectations, now we just got to help you achieve whatever the goals are that you have there. That's it. Anything else? Anything just about me or anything? Maybe not even on the paper.
Just a couple more questions.
What are the goals for the athletic department in the next 3 to 5 years?
One is making sure, well, one is we grow the department, the numbers, right? We want to add women's wrestling as maybe a couple years down the road. I'd like to see softball on site, softball field. I'd like to see another multi-purpose turf field behind that. So you'd have our, you know, kind of like the Beaver Dome, then you have baseball, then you have rodeo, which is doing well, then you have softball, and you have another turf right behind that. I could see that happen for athletics. Then you have both everything on site. You have a great track complex just down the street. And another thing, next 3 to 5 years is upgrade all the coaches' offices so that we look like more of a Division I atmosphere, if you will, at a college, and make sure that we brand the athletic department, where we have floor, rugs, decals, flags outside. I mean, show that we're, you know, the Beavers. You know, making sure when you get here, you know there's an athletic department here. You know, we have indoor batting cages for softball and for baseball. Yeah, you get a logo up, right? It's not, you said Beaver baseball, Beaver softball, something, right? And just brand the heck out of it, and make sure that you guys have an area that you can hang out as athletes too. You know, and another biggie is more locker rooms, where everybody has locker rooms. And we're working on a piece of that. There's some good things coming up that we might have an option for that, because they used to have football here, and when that went away, they kind of split up a couple of the, you know, so we have a lot more sports here than when this place was built. And so locker rooms is another big thing that we got to look at. And I would say another thing on the flip side is having more support for athletes from an academic sense, meaning, you know, I've always had a full-time athletic academic advisor that they just dealt with athletes 24/7. If you dropped, you added, when you first get here, they take care of just athletes. That's all they did. And so here, they still do the same thing, it's just, it's just a different model, but, and we always look at, the school, if they had more funding, they'd put a heck of a lot more stuff in here, so we're always at the mercy of the funding of the state, right, and how much we can offer, but I just gotta look at and make sure that we have a student athlete handbook, a small one, that here's your cheat sheet. This is gonna make you successful, how you stay out of trouble, how you might get in trouble, where all your resources are, tutoring, this and that, so we're working on a lot of life skill type deals, things that you have support in that way, so we're working on just more personnel for athletics, and that's probably never gonna go away. Always gonna have that need, and every department on campus is doing the same thing I'm doing, just in their way. How it makes their area grow, whether it's ag department, chemistry, math, English, whatever it might be. They're all trying to get the most that they can get the same way. And then you have, Dr. Calvert, the president, and Ken Adams, the VP of finance, and they're always trying to juggle all of our visions, right? The next 3 to 5 years, and put them in place. We have what's called a SPUR program, and we also have, we just met yesterday, and looking at what projects we want, personnel, projects, running down the line. So we have a big master plan, master list that the campus has from each department of what they're looking to do in the next 3 to 5 years. Some are like next year, where's the funding going to come from? Is it a private donation? Is it coming from the operational budget? And so you can have the big vision, but you got to find the donation. I always say the best nation in the world is donation. People giving you money for athletics. That's a joke too. That's all I have on that one. But yeah, we do have master plans here that are short term, mid, and then long term. And so athletics especially, athletics especially. So we have some good things coming up. We just yes, I got to be patient. Because everybody here is trying to do the same thing. So, and it's all to make sure that whether you're a student, athlete, or just a student, that we're making sure you got all the support that you can have, right? But branding is going to be a big thing, branding. So when you come down the street, you'll know, hey, there's Pratt Community College and they got sport programs. That's what I want everybody to know. So, but we do have a big, February 15th, wrestling, we're going to be hosting the NJCAA South Central District Wrestling Tournament. And come and watch that, how we brand it, the hospitality rooms. Come and see what's like. We did track and field last year. We branded the heck out of track and field here at Region 6. And then we went, was it Louisiana for track and field last year? Went down there, great area, great stadium, but there's no branding hardly at all. It's just like another event. We're gonna have, the placard issue wear with the QR code on it, decals on the floor, hospitality room and everything, so. And then that's how I get the city involved too. And the more I get the city involved, I think the more they'll value what we do here, the more they can see and how we interact and all that, so. But yeah, you have to have those short, medium, and long-term goals. And that's one of the questions I sometimes ask in interviews. Tell me what you think your first 30 days look like here at Pratt Community College when I throw you into this position. That'll tell me if I know what they know, if they know anything at all. What's your first 30 days gonna be like? Don't tell me what you think I want to hear. Tell me what's really truly gonna be like in your head. What do you think when I drop you here? What's gonna be? What's gonna happen? And so that's another good interview question to ask. And that's another one. I'll ask that. What would be your long-term goals, right? For the how I'm trying to market the whole athletic department. I always ask those coaches, how are you going to market and create a culture in that sport for me and for this campus? So if they talk the same language that I talk as a whole, when you put all those pieces together, everybody's drinking the same Kool-Aid, right? We're all in the same plan. And then the student athlete is the one that benefits from it. And then sometimes student athletes, you believe it or not, they'll come up to me, not just the coach up to me, and they give me some good ideas. And that's what it's about. I take a lot of ideas from the athletes as well. So, but I appreciate you letting me have this time. Hopefully you got a few things out of it. And you can always find me in the gym there if you have additional questions or you need follow-up questions. You need elaborating more on what we talked about. We definitely take some time for you.
That's great. Thank you very much.
All right.
Appreciate your time.
All right.
Thank you.
Stay in trouble, okay?
Appreciate it.